The silence that followed was heavy as a stone in water. Margot's face twisted with calculation. She looked at her sons, young, strong, promising. She looked at her husband, broken, diminished, but still a man of value. And then she looked at Beauty, standing in the shadows of the kitchen, still wearing her tattered dress, still holding the spoon she'd been using to start the fire. "The choice is clear," Margot said, her voice smooth as venom. "Beauty must go. She is the youngest, the least valuable, the one we can spare. Indeed, it would be a mercy to all of us." Marcus and Thomas did not object. Aldrich closed his eyes as though he might unsee the future. And Beauty, who had learned early that her own survival was of no account to anyone, simply nodded. "I will go," she said. 3 weeks later, when the moon hung full and round as an eye watching, Beauty stood at the forest edge with her father's rose pressed between the pages of a book of prayers. She had spent the intervening weeks preparing in ways her family could not fathom. She had gone to the healer who had tended her father. She had asked questions. She had listened to the old woman's warnings about creatures who were not as they seemed, about curses that sometimes concealed blessings, about the thin places in the world where justice and mercy tangled like lovers. "Be neither cruel nor craven," the healer had told her. "Meet whatever you find with a steady heart." She had said goodbye to no one. Her mother had not bid her farewell. Her brothers had already forgotten she was leaving. Her father had wept, but they were the selfish tears of a man mourning his own loss. Beauty walked into the forest as a woman walks into a room she has already decided to enter. The path seemed to make itself for her, patting the trees as though the forest itself breathed her name. Hours passed, or perhaps minutes. Time moved strangely in that place. When she emerged, it was into the clearing, and the manor stood before her exactly as her father had described it: turrets and windows, iron beasts at the gate, impossible gardens beyond. The gates opened. The doors swung wide. She entered into the same. "What is this place?" Beauty asked the air. "A garden that was loved," the voice answered. "And then it was not. And then it was grieved. And now, it is learning to be loved again." Each day followed a similar pattern. Beauty would wake, find meals prepared, spend hours walking through the gardens or the manor's many rooms. The manor seemed impossibly large, with corridors that spiraled into towers and staircases that led to chambers that could not possibly exist within the building's exterior dimensions. At night, she would hear the voice, and it would ask her questions. "What do you desire? What do you fear? Why do you accept such suffering? What do you want for yourself, Beauty?" And slowly, through these conversations conducted across the boundary between visible and invisible, Beauty began to understand. She began to heal. She told the voice, this presence that inhabited the manor like a heartbeat inhabits a body, of her mother's cruelty. Not with anger, but with a kind of clinical examination, as though describing a disease observed from a distance. She spoke of her father's cowardice, and her brother's indifference, and she realized, as she spoke, that these things had become instruments that shaped her. "I came here believing I was worthless," she told the empty air of the library on the 7th night. "I believed that because my family had deemed it so. But perhaps they were simply wrong." The voice was silent for a long moment. Then, "Yes." On the 15th night, as Beauty sat in a room of windows overlooking the gardens, the voice asked the question she had been dreading and hoping for. "Will you stay? Not as payment for your father's theft, but as a choice. The debt is paid. You are free to leave. But will you stay?" Beauty's heart turned over in her chest. "What are you?" she asked. "I was cursed," the voice said. "Long ago, when I was a lord of this place and cruel in my pride, I was cursed to be unseen, to be invisible even to myself. To exist in this manner as its ghost, watching beauty wait around me, unable to touch it, unable to save it. The curse stated that only one thing could break it, if someone willingly suffered in my place, not from duty or desperation, but from love, true, conscious love. For me or for this place or for the person beneath the curse. But you are not a person. As Beauty sat in the rose garden at sunset, a figure emerged from the shadows between the trees. It was a woman, or had been, once. She was translucent, made of light and sorrow, her form flickering like a candle flame. She was beautiful and terrible, and when she looked at Beauty, there were tears streaming down her face. I remember, she said, her voice like wind chimes again, but softer now, almost human. I remember what I was before the curse. A man, cruel and vain. I took beauty for granted. I destroyed kind things. And then I was punished. Beauty did not flee. She stood and looked at this manifestation with a steady gaze. Do you remember your name? She asked. No, the figure said. It has been too long. I have been the mana so long that I don't know where the curse ends and I begin. Then I will give you a name, Beauty said. In the folktales, those who are transformed must be given new names to acknowledge what they have become. I will call you Meridian. Like a line of light. Like something that divides one thing from another, marking a passage. The figure, Meridian, seemed to solidify slightly. Why are you kind to me? I am the source of your captivity. No, Beauty said. You are not. My captivity was given to me long before I arrived at this manor. You offered me the first true freedom I have ever known, the freedom to choose. Even if that choice was made only because I believed I must sacrifice myself for my father, at least the sacrifice was mine to make. That is more than anyone in my family ever gave me. Meridian moved toward her, and now the figure was becoming more solid, more real. Where it had been pure light and sorrow, now there was the outline of a man's form, though still translucent, still not fully present. The curse, Meridian said, can only be broken by love that asked for nothing in return. By love that does not expect transformation, that does not demand that the beloved become something other than what they are. In all the years of the curse, all the desperate souls who passed through here, I thought no one would ever offer such love. And then you came. I love the gardens, Beauty said. I love the books and the paintings and the impossible spaces. And I love. She paused, searching for truth. I love what you might have been, before the curse. I love what you might become. That is not love, Meridian said gently. That is hope. Perhaps, Beauty said. But hope is a kind of love too. It is the belief that something or someone is worth more than. Perhaps, Beauty said. But hope is a kind of love too. It is the belief that something or someone is worth more than their history, worth more than their suffering. That is what I am offering. In the light of the setting sun, Meridian solidified. The translucence became opacity. A man stood before Beauty, not young, not old, with eyes that held both sorrow and something that might, with time and kindness, become joy. He reached out a hand to touch her face, and his fingers were warm, real, solid. I do not know what I am, he said. I do not know if I can ever truly be free of this curse, or if this is merely another form of imprisonment. But I know that I do not wish to be alone anymore. If you stay, truly stay, not out of duty, but by choice, then I will believe that there is something worth saving in me. Beauty took his hand. Then we will stay together, she said. And we will tend these gardens. And we will see what we become. In the village between the grey mountains and the dark forest, stories were told about the merchant's youngest daughter. Some said she had been devoured by the curse. Others claimed she had married the spirit of the manor and lived in invisible luxury, locked away from the world. But the truth was simpler and more profound. Beauty had written a letter to her father, carried by a magpie with feathers like starlight. In it, she told him that she was happy, that she forgave him for his cowardice, and that she would not return. She had asked him to take the money he was going to spend searching for her and use it to hire a companion for her mother, someone kind and patient who might gentle the bitterness that had become Margot's bones. Aldrich lived out his remaining years as a less ambitious man, and by some accounts, a more content one. Marcus and Thomas eventually inherited a fortune they were not clever enough to keep and a legacy of cruelty they were too foolish to question. They faded from history as unremarkable men often do. But beauty and Meridian remained in the manor, tending its gardens, filling its rooms with laughter and music and ordinary human joy. Slowly, the curse dissolved not with thunder and light, but with something quieter and more powerful, with the daily choice to stay, to love, to accept. And if they did not live happily ever after, for happiness is a moment, not a state, they lived with purpose. They lived with agency. They lived knowing that they were worth more than what others had deemed them worth. And in the end, is that not the truest magic of all?